Hello, I am Specialist Robert Buske, and I will be presenting the information for this brief. The classification for this brief is unclassified and unrestricted. At this time, if you refer to the handouts in front of you and the PowerPoint to my right, you will find all the material that will be covered within this informative brief. The purpose of this informative brief is to follow the evolution of the Army values. And demonstrate how they have impacted me in the military and in life in general. General Patton once said that while wars may be fought with weapons, they are won by men. It is the spirit of men who follow and of the men who lead that gain the victory. Patton understood that the most important aspect of warfare was the spirit of the soldier. The spirit of the soldier is a very complex concept to comprehend, let alone attempt to instill or teach. The U.S. Army approaches this challenge from day one through the Army values. It is important for civilians, soldiers, and leaders alike to understand how the Army values came to be, as well as the current definition for a greater chance of success within life as well as the military. The first attempt to establish a formal set of Army values came from General Westmoreland, commander of the U.S. Armed Forces during Vietnam. In 1970, he proposed the officer's creed to be loyalty, expertise, fairness, justice, selflessness, dignity, candor, integrity, physical and moral courage, and welfare of soldiers. In 1981, the Army first captured the Army value with an FM 100-1 as loyalty to the institution, loyalty to the unit, personal responsibility, and selfless service. In 1986, FM 100-1 was updated to include loyalty, duty, respect, loyalty, duty, selfless service, integrity, commitment, competence, candor, and courage. In May 1996, the Army completed a character development workshop in which they first attempted to define enduring Army values. That same year, they developed what would later become the 7 Army values, being loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and courage. Notice, the final value does not go from courage to personal courage until 2 years later with an AR 690-400. Next, we define the Army values as they are currently understood throughout the Army. AR 600-100, Army Profession and Leadership Policy, defines the Army values as loyalty, bearing truth, faith, and allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, the Army, your unit, and other soldiers. Duty, the legal and moral obligation to do what is right without being told. Respect, treat people as they should be treated. Selfless service, put the welfare of the nation, the Army, and your subordinates before your own. Honor, always follow your moral compass in any circumstance. Integrity, do what is right, legally and morally. Personal courage, face fear, danger, or adversity, physical or moral. These definitions serve as a guide and constant reminder of what is expected of each soldier. I believe it is important to first bring to light some significant events throughout my life, both within and outside the Army, before I can fully express what the Army values mean to me and how they have impacted my life. To start, I begin with my childhood and upbringing long before I ever heard of what the Army values were. As a child, my father often traveled for work. He was gone for weeks or months at a time. I struggled to grasp why he traveled, and it was not until later in life that I fully understood his level of selfless service that he possessed and displayed. He routinely traded time away from his loved ones to provide us with a better life. My parents methodically drilled respect into my brothers and I from birth. Respect was a value that our parents ensured would be upheld at all costs. Finally, living within an extremely strict home, we learned to appreciate integrity. It was a mandate within my parents' walls to never lie, cheat, or steal. and to always treat others the way we would want to be treated. Once I joined the military, drill sergeants replaced a position my parents once held in the Army values began trained to memory. Constantly repeating the same thing over and over doesn't necessarily mean comprehension, and this was my case with the Army values, with the Army value duty, correction. During my basic training, one of my peers refused to wake up during his night guard shift. He did this for 2 nights in a row, and on the 3rd night, I told myself I wouldn't let this guy get the best of me. He played possum every time. So, I filled a bucket full of ice water and dumped it all over him. Funny enough, he never had trouble waking up after that again. I soon realized how closely intertwined the Army values were. My deployment to Afghanistan dramatically strengthened this understanding, and I came to realize that the actions of one soldier would quickly impact the surrounding team. I finally understood how General Patton's quote of, "Spirit of men who follow and lead tends to return full circle back to the 7 Army values." It is outside the military, within the civilian workforce, that I came to understand that the role we play concerning the Army values differs based on the position we hold. As a newly appointed team leader within a construction company, I found myself leading new employees. I found it quite difficult at times to do this because the employees I was leading were much older than me. It was at this point I realized the true relationship of the Army values. Soldiers were asked to internalize them on an individual level, while leaders must build the unit's identity around these values. After describing some crucial events in my life, I feel I am now able to convey what the Army values mean to me. They serve as the bedrock for all decisions I make in my life. They embody the character traits and actions that I believe to be the most important qualities of a good and contributing member of society. While I do not believe it is possible to follow them perfectly necessarily, I do think they should weigh heavily on the minds of every soldier and leader within the military. The purpose of this informative brief was to follow the evolution of the Army values and demonstrate how they have impacted me in the military and life in general. We started by covering the evolution of the Army values and defined the current definitions of these values. Next, I covered how I came to understand the importance of the Army values prior to joining the military, upon joining the military, and their applications outside the military. Finally, I was able to articulate what the Army values mean to me based off these personal experiences. If anyone has any questions following this brief, you are welcome to see me after. These are my references. At this time, this concludes my brief. Thank you.